Today we have a twofer. I'll be speaking with Feleen and Brandon from Lancaster, Pennsylvania about the ups and downs of life at Meals on Wheels, funding, volunteers, kitchen operations, and the reasons we all do it day after day. On this episode of Behind the Meal. Hello, and welcome to Behind the Meal. Join me as we delve into the stories behind Meals on Wheels, meeting the incredible people who make it all happen. Today I'm speaking with the leadership team from Meals on Wheels of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I'm joined by Feleen Nancarvis, the executive director who guides the organization's strategic vision and essential community partnerships, and Brandon Pizzola, the kitchen manager who runs the daily operation of planning and packing all of those nutritious meals. Thank you for joining us. We're glad to have you today on Behind the Meal.
Hey, thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dave.
Well, I appreciate it. Real quick, if you could kind of just tell us a little bit about your program, who you're serving, the community, the work you're doing.
Yeah, sure. So we're Meals on Wheels Lancaster. We serve in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. It is our where we're located and where we serve. We've been operating for over 50 years. So since 1967, we were founded. My name's Feleen Nancarvis. I'm executive director, and with me, this is...
Hi, I'm Brandon Pizzola. I'm the kitchen manager here at Meals on Wheels of Lancaster.
Mm-hmm. And we serve 450 clients on average per day. And we're really proud to do that work. All of our clients receive a bagged lunch and a hot supper tray. So we're looking at 900 meals that are leaving our building every morning. And so we're grateful to be in this work and to support the seniors and adults with disabilities who aren't able to provide those meals for themselves.
You mentioned the lunch and what did you call it? A dinner tray?
Yeah. Yep. I said hot supper tray, but you
yeah.
Hot meal.
You know, I'm in the Midwest. I hear dinner. So anyway. What's that? How does that work? Is it similar to the lunch or?
Well, very different. I'll let Brandon take that.
Sure. Yeah, very different. So as Feleen mentioned, it's a cold bagged lunch, let's say, and then a hot tray supper. So that hot tray comes with it's three compartments, protein, starch, and a vegetable every day. And then downstairs in our cold kitchen, I say downstairs, our hot kitchen is upstairs, cold kitchen is downstairs, and they're putting together sandwiches, salads, macaroni salads, deli salads, milk, juice, that sort of thing, and dessert. Everyone gets a dessert every day, fruit cup. Yep. Yeah. So all of that is going out, like Feleen said, about 900 meals total, 450 clients every day, Monday through Friday. Yeah.
Do you do any kind of weekend frozens or anything like that?
Not right now. One of the things that we do for clients who are food insecure and they need that extra cushion on the weekend, we'll increase the number of meals that they receive on Thursdays and Fridays. So they might get 2 sets of meals on a Friday going into the weekend, or 2 sets of meals on Thursdays and Fridays, both. Depends on the client's needs, but we're happy to do what we can.
Okay. Well, let's take a quick step back. Tell me a little bit about the work you're particularly doing, Feleen, and then we'll ask Brandon the same thing after that.
Yeah, sure. So right now, our organization, we're looking at a variety of different things. So we provide that fresh, prepared, home-delivered meal. We own and operate our own commercial kitchens, and we're proud to do that. But we work in collaboration with our local hospital to provide medically tailored meals. And so some of the things that we're considering is how can we bring some of those meals in-house, right? Can we save costs? Can we save money, a little more control over the menu? Or maybe a closer relationship with the client on their dietary needs. And there's just a lot of conversations that were happening along those lines. Was there something specific you wanted me to?
Well, no, it's the kind of your work. Like as executive director, what do you your role? Yeah.
Where do you begin?
Where do I begin?
Where do we begin?
Sorry, I took that as a very different...
When you get up in the morning and you drive to work, what do you? No, I was kidding. You get your tea.
Right now, our role, our organization right now is impacted by Pennsylvania's state budget impasse as well as the federal government shutdown. So we're in crosshairs there between both of those. It's, almost mid-November 2025 when that's happening, that's taking place. And so There seems to be some hope on the horizon that there may be decisions around both of those arenas, but it's hard to say. There's been a lot of moving pieces, a lot of back and forth, and so we have funding that is being reduced, but also if it continues, may be withheld completely. And so we are dipping into reserves in order to support the work that we do so that we do not have to terminate services or discontinue services for the clients that we serve that may be benefiting from those funding streams. So we're trying to stay on top of it as best as we can right now.
Do you personally do advocacy work at the Capitol? As I already know kind of somewhat of the answer to this, and also your work with your state coalition.
Sure. So our organization, Meals on Wheels Lancaster, we don't really have capacity to do a ton of advocacy work in the way that we would like to or find it to be meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
We encourage all of our constituents, call your representative, your voice matters, your story is important, your voice needs to be heard. But for us to go to Harrisburg is that's a time-consuming trip for us to make, and that's not in the cards. But I do also volunteer my time as the chairperson for Meals on Wheels Pennsylvania, which is a state association. We have a small membership and a board of directors. We don't have any staff. And a large part of what we do is help educate and inform our members about things that are happening and just sort of keep our fingers on the pulse. We do work with former Senator Roy Offlerbach. He also used to be a mayor, I think, of Allentown. I could be wrong. And he does a lot of the lobbying and advocacy work on our behalf. So we tell him, hey, these are the issues that we're seeing, and this is what we need. This is where we want to point, direct our sails in the right direction, right? And he helps do a lot of that work. And I meet with him and some of his other clients on a monthly basis to talk about issues that are happening. So it's been great. It's really important work. It does help move that dial forward to have that collective voice of all things seniors within the state of Pennsylvania. And he has some great relationships. And so it's one way when we come together as Meals on Wheels programs, each one of us is different, right? Mm-hmm. Each one of us has a unique issue, but we're all here to serve food to those who are seniors and aging in place, and they need that food security piece to be secure, right?
Right.
And so when we can come together, those of us that are a mid-sized program like us in Lancaster, who don't have the capacity otherwise to get to Harrisburg, when we can band together and channel our efforts as a group at the state level, we can get some more work done. So that's important.
Well, and especially, you get a bunch of seniors that are writing and emailing or calling their representatives. Folks seem to listen a little more too.
Oh, yeah, their voice matters. It is really important.
They vote.
They do vote. Absolutely. Yeah. They also like to tell us all about our food and our menus too. They're about as vocal at the ballot as they are about the food that we're giving them.
They have a lot of opinions, which I'm sure you've heard a few times, and Brandon, and I know that falls back on you many times, I assume.
Yeah, well, luckily, most of it's good, I got to say. But I listen to that feedback for sure. If there's something on the menu that just doesn't seem to be working for one reason or another, we absolutely look to improve that in some way based on that feedback. No question. It's very important. I love to hear that those comments and that feedback, whether it's positive or negative. It's always welcome. Right.
Well, when the positive feedback, sometimes folks don't really bring to us. It's when things are going well, you don't hear about it a lot of times.
Right.
Well, yeah. So I take that, to heart, extra to heart.
Well, sure. when you're putting the menu together, or even just the kitchen planning in general, I mean, what does that look like in a day for you? We're going through the kitchen, or even long term, putting the menus together, and as you look out at the potential partnerships or potential changes with the in-house kitchen with your menu, and maybe bring some of that in-house from the hospital.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So sounds like 3 parts here.
Yeah, I suppose I'm rambling. It's
good. It's good. Well, the first thing, the day to day, we're operating the kitchen at 5 a.m. and our volunteers start to arrive at 6 a.m. We usually have about 5 or 6 volunteers from that 6 to 8 a.m. And they're putting together in the hot kitchen, they're putting together all 450 meals within those 2 hours. Downstairs, it's a little more spread out, that production, but they also handle all the distribution downstairs from our cold kitchen that goes right out into the parking lot. So we're wheeling meals out then, both that hot and cold, to our volunteer drivers every day. And that usually happens between like 10 and 10:45. We get about 35 routes out total. Yeah.
Every day you're doing 35 or?
Yeah.
We have over 40 routes in the county, almost 50
Okay.
in Lancaster County, but the largest distribution we have is 35 routes on it.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the drivers, the volunteer drivers coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
And what are some of the partners organizations you're working with to help kind of fuel all of this, whether they be funding partners or partners to find volunteers or whatever it may be?
Yeah. There's a lot of different partners that we're working with. One of them that comes to mind is Central Pennsylvania Food Bank. They serve 27 counties here in Pennsylvania, and we work with them to distribute senior food boxes on a monthly basis. So that's probably close to maybe 10% of our client base benefits from that. But it's a pretty big lift. So we have 20, 30-pound boxes of non-perishable goods to eligible seniors that we serve. And oftentimes these individuals are some of the most vulnerable that we're serving.
Sure.
And so we distribute those on a monthly basis in collaboration with them. And we're really grateful to do that. We started doing that this was inspired by the pandemic. They were having a really hard time getting seniors to a central pickup location, which is how it used to work. They'd have to travel and go get the box, and then the senior would carry this heavy box home. And that was challenging and it was difficult. And during the pandemic, it wasn't necessarily safe for them to do that. So we pivoted to a delivery model, and we're grateful to be part of that. Yeah.
So you're basically delivering the food from the food shelf to the seniors directly. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And do you see it? Well, you mentioned the pandemic. Is kind of when that all started. Were there other things that kind of came out of the pandemic that have changed the way you've done business?
Yes. Yes, there are. So during the pandemic, prior to, we were supported by volunteers who were largely seniors and also adults with disabilities as well, believe it or not. We work with a lot of disability programs in Lancaster, and at the time we had over 13, I think, that we were partnering with on a regular basis, almost daily. Some of them were sending hundreds of their staff to our program to volunteer, deliver routes, be in the kitchen.
Sure.
And to volunteer in large groups and to volunteer in a close setting, like a kitchen, for instance, right? We're all crowded around each other to assemble all those meals. We had to shift gears. So we had to introduce some social distancing measures in our kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
We introduced a parking lot pickup distribution. Previously, we had volunteers coming into the building to pick up their meals. And so we're now sending everything out. And fortunately for us, we had been for a year or two prior to the pandemic in pursuit of a new building. And part of the design was a parking lot distribution model for that facility. And another part of that building was making our operations more efficient, like using less people in our kitchen. And so many of the things that we put in place during the pandemic, we already had in mind operational logistics to implement. So we were able to just get those off the ground right away. We're very fortunate in that way. The other thing that happened is in April of that year, we had probably over 400 community members who came out to volunteer. They were new volunteers. So we lost a good 75% of our kitchen volunteers alone. And as a result of the pandemic, and then Lancaster's community showed up in full force, and we were able to put them all to work. There were a lot of people that we were at the end of the month. We were like, what are we going to do with all these people? What do we do?
What a terrible problem to have, right?
Yeah, but it's very challenging.
Sure, I'm sure.
So we had to rely on less people. We ended up absorbing that for a period of time, and that continues. Our operations continue in that efficient capacity. And then we had to modify distribution. And then we also ended up, a lot of the senior centers closed in our county. So there's quite a few of those, and we ended up absorbing a lot of clients. We converted them from congregate dining to home delivered, and that's a pretty steep increase in clients served at that time too. A lot of change, a lot of change.
Have you seen those congregate dining numbers come back to where they were, or are they still
So we only hold one congregate dining
okay?
contract, but I don't know where the county's contract volume stands, to be honest with you. But the one contract we serve has maintained a steady volume over time. But we don't serve a large number of congregate dining sites, just one. But just our close relationship with our county area agency on aging, we received a lot of referrals when those sites closed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And looking at your website, there were a couple other little partnerships that looked interesting. I saw something about your Food for Thought Library Books Club was one thing, and then there was some other things you were doing with Lunch and Learns.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to do all the time. Do you want to talk at all about the library?
Sure. So the library was the brainchild of our general manager, Lindsay, and she just had this dream of collecting books and being able to send them out to our clients. They could sign up, remotely, hand off some information, paperwork, or whatever to their driver. The driver brings that back, and she sends off a book. So it started small. I mean, I think maybe a dozen books or so. And I think probably now there's somewhere around 700, 800 items total in that library. So that library includes all genres of reading material, really. And then, crosswords and word searches and puzzles and so it's a really neat addition, I think, to what we do day to day. And the feedback that we've gotten from the clients that now rely on that, I think, has been super positive. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that makes more connection too between the volunteers and even between clients in a sense. And it's something else, of course, now you have to coordinate out of the kitchen besides just a meal, but
yeah, Lindsay does a great job of pretty much handling all of that paperwork and everything yourself. But I wanted to mention also that the intention of that library, I think, was also, to engage staff and our in-house kitchen volunteers as well. So we have a couple of volunteers who help Lindsay out with cataloging and such as well. So it's a great opportunity for volunteers who want to come in, who don't want to drive and don't want to handle food. Yeah.
Do data entry all day.
Yeah. We started off of that project. She started a little writing group as well. So we had one session so far. Few people showed up, and we read things that we have written, and just another great way to engage our volunteer community and staff. Yeah.
Well, you could eventually put it all together. It sounds like it'd make a great piece that other folks would love to see outside of the program too. And tell me a little bit about this. Is that the Lunch and Learn piece, or what is that?
Yeah, that's a partnership that we used to have with our local United Way here in Lancaster County. So we're no longer offering the Lunch and Learn series anymore, but we did that for maybe a year and a half or so. So we would invite other nonprofit organizations to come and we have a little event space here. It holds 70 people. And we would give them the opportunity to talk about the work that they do, the programs that they have, the needs, and the way that community can rally around them. And we would serve from our kitchen a meal that was right off of our home delivery meals menu. And so people would pay, I forget what the ticket price was at the time, to come in, have a hot meal for lunch, and they would come in and listen and get to interact with other nonprofits. And that was a really great way to bring people together. And we really enjoyed that. That was a good time. And we love working with United Way. They have a fantastic network, and they do a lot of great work for the community too. So they really helped with a lot of the outreach and a lot of the coordination in ways that we at the time really didn't have the bandwidth to do, but we had the space and we have the food, right? So it was a great way to bring two resources together. It was a really good time.
Well, yeah, it's what resources do you have that others could use, and how do you put it all together? And it's not just that program, but like I said, with the book program. I mean, all that sounds like it's just engaging more volunteers, engaging your community, engaging your clients, and just putting folks together that beyond the meal, as we all say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's one thing that is so important about a Meals on Wheels program is that we are trying so hard to connect with the clients who otherwise don't have anybody else in their homes. And so that community engagement is so vital for them. Those wellness checks that we do, making sure that they are healthy at home is so important to their well-being. But it also makes it really difficult for Meals on Wheels programs to sometimes create a sense of community because our clients are not able to get to our building all the time, right? And because they're not coming in like a restaurant, right? So we have to get creative about ways that we can bring community together. And these are just some of the things that we've come up with that have worked well. And sometimes they're great for a season, and sometimes they have a really long lifespan with us. And, we're happy to go with that ebb and flow. So it's fun.
No, that's a great point about creating community. Besides just between the volunteer and the senior themselves, but to create that bigger space, that space that people feel they belong to something bigger than themselves.
Right. Yeah. You want to make sure that they feel like they are part of a community. Yeah.
Right.
That's
No.
important.
And looking ahead a little bit at some of your growth, it sounds like maybe some things in the kitchen potentially coming up, Brandon, and I'm sure elsewhere too, because none of this is free. Um, what are some points of growth that you're looking at near term, long term?
You want to talk about kitchen?
Well, I can just mention that well, we just launched a new menu, which is working out really well, and these are recipes that both appeal to our local Lancaster County clients and community, but also appeal to some we have some ethnic cuisine dishes on the menu as well and we try to keep because we have a very diverse clientele, right? So that's exciting always to bring up some new dishes for everybody. We're looking forward to establishing our own medically tailored meal program, and that's something in the future that we're excited to keep exploring and developing. And hopefully that's something that can come into fruition within the next 6 months, something like that.
Oh, great. And when you're looking at those kinds of expansions, obviously none of this is free. What do you look at for funding for these kinds of things? Are you looking at grants, government funding, combinations, obviously, things like that?
Yeah, all of the above. But what's challenging right now is that grants are incredibly competitive. Really tough to get in the door with foundations. The amount of money available through foundations, all across the country isn't enough to meet the need that exists, right? And so relying on individual donors, requires a lot of relationship and a lot of legwork. And so it's a lot of moving pieces there. And so you want to be intentional about how you're structuring your programs and your services and what you're trying to do and what other funding streams you have that provide the backbone streams too. So there's a lot for Meals on Wheels programs. People don't know this, but we might contract in Pennsylvania. We call them managed care organizations, but that might have a different name somewhere else. But in Pennsylvania, we contract with two different insurance companies. We work with our county office of aging. We're a SNAP retailer. And so we're able to subsidize or reduce the cost of home delivered meals through many of those revenue streams, which we're really grateful to do. But it never, covers the full cost. We're always operating at a deficit, right? So this year alone, we operate at a $2, I think 53 cents deficit per meal. So it's steep. It's a steep uphill climb, and we rely very heavily on donations and grants in order to fund new programs. But with that competitive environment out there, it's very tough. And oftentimes relationship is what can get you through the door for your program to be recognized or to be awarded. That's important too. But there's a lot of moving pieces, especially in the environment that we're in, especially this year. People don't know where they want to give their money or where to put their funding or who needs it the most or when. Do they need it now? Is it later? And it's so difficult to tell for the donor to tell unless you're telling them this is the need and this is how you can help. But it's challenging. Yeah, but all of those things, we're looking at all of those and ways that we can effectively structure those. But building new programs can't come without effective staff leadership to oversee them and implement them effectively. And so we need to make sure that we can provide sustainability to our staff, because that's a really important part of what we do. We can't just pay them the bottom dollar just because that's all we can afford, right? We need to make sure that we can provide a reasonable living in this day and age too. So all of the things. All the things, Dave. It's a lot to unpack there.
Well, there's just so much happening right now at everyone's state level and the federal level. There's so many, well, to say unknowns into the future, and it's hard to make plans with those kinds of questions hanging over. You mentioned a little bit about the partnerships you're doing with some of the hospitals. What does that look like? Is that something where folks are as they're discharged to go home? Are you doing like a short-term?
Yeah, in some cases. So the partnership we have with our local hospital is they're actually a vendor for us. So they cook and prepare medically tailored meals on our behalf. And so we pick them up every day. We submit an order and we pick them up every day, and then we distribute them to our clients in their homes. Now, sometimes the hospital does make that referral upon discharge, and sometimes we're receiving that referral from other sources or other agencies, or the client themselves is calling to sign themselves up. So it's not exclusively, the relationship is about food specifically. So they actually provide those meals for us. Yeah.
Okay. And, one of the things I saw too on your website, looking on there, is you bought a new van recently.
Yeah.
Is that something that is going to help in this, as you expand and look at other, ways you're distributing your meals? What was the kind of impetus behind all that?
Yes. So transportation, when you are a delivery program, is incredibly important. You need to have secure wheels to get you where you need to go so that food gets there in a reliable time, a safe way, not only for the driver, but also making sure that food is controlled and is ready to eat as promised, right? And so we were really fortunate to have a sponsor support the purchase of that van, and it is temperature controlled. And so because we serve both a hot lunch and a bagged lunch with every delivery, the vehicle contains both a refrigerated compartment and a heat controlled compartment in the back. And so we can take both on the road. It sees about 120 miles round trip per day. And it's a pretty big, it's a lot of miles we're packing in there. But we only serve Lancaster County right now. If you talk to some other Meals on Wheels programs, they might have a fleet of vehicles, or they have 40 of those and they're serving a million counties. But we have one, and we got our first one, I think it was this time a year ago. And it's been really great and gives a lot of peace of mind for our staff who are on the road to be able to have that security, but also for our clients who are receiving those meals, knowing it is hot when it gets to the door is fantastic. So love that.
And that also, from the kitchen point of view, we're trying to create some quality here. If the top, the best quality meal that they can get. And that's, of course, going to be a meal that's chilled when it should be chilled and hot when it should be hot. So that's a big gift that we've been given with this van. Yeah,
it's been very transformative. We're really grateful for it.
Did it change the way you're putting your menus together when you got something like that, or?
Well, I'm always looking at how the meals will sit in the tray for however long it'll be between the kitchen and when it reaches the client. So it hasn't really changed the consideration. It's always been a consideration. Yeah. So we don't serve French fries, for instance.
I don't know if that would meet the nutrition standards anyway, but you never know. Never know.
Yeah.
That would fit my culturally specific meal, but that would just be me. I kind of know a little bit about this, but I thought I'd ask you each individually. Feleen, how did you come to your position at Meals on Wheels there?
Sure. So I started as an intern. This was back in 2017. So I've been with the organization for 8 years now. And I was a full-time intern through a voluntary service organization that's local here to Lancaster. Many others may be familiar with similar programs on a larger scale, like AmeriCorps Vistas or Mennonite Voluntary Service. Ours was similar, except it's very small and based here in Lancaster County. And so I volunteered full-time 35 hours a week at Meals on Wheels. I lived in intentional community with 5 or 6 other young adults who were doing the same thing. So it was a really transformative experience. And then, of course, I convinced Meals on Wheels against their better judgment to hire me out of that internship. And then in 2020, I was invited to be their executive director. So I'm grateful to still be standing here today. Yeah.
Are you still working with that program?
I do, yeah. And actually, we have over the years hosted many other interns from that program. And the internships are a year long. I served for 18 months through that internship, but we've had 4 or 5 interns since I started. Yeah.
Well, you're a great example of where they can go quickly.
Yeah,
If they're
thanks. Yeah. Yeah. No pressure, guys. No
no
pressure.
intern to executive director, no matter
That's right. In 3 years.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, especially so you came in during the pandemic too. I mean, that's
Executive. Yeah.
yeah, as executive director.
Yeah.
Yes, I started with my program like the month before pandemic hit. So,
Really.
you learn a lot quickly, and you don't always learn this is the way it's always been done because we can't do it
Yeah.
that way anymore.
Right. Right. Yeah. Baptism by fire. That's what it was. Yeah.
And Brandon, what brought you through to into the nonprofit world and into Meals on Wheels?
Yeah. Well, my whole adult career actually started in nonprofit development, and with a couple of different organizations. And then I left that for quite a while and worked in lots of kitchens and restaurants. And I actually started volunteering here first and thought, this would be a great place to work. And so, kind of just listening, I heard that someone was leaving, and I put my name in the hat there. And that was in a certain position. And then I moved up a couple of times until I reached kitchen manager here. And that's been it. It's been a little over 3 years.
Okay. So you both kind of came in as volunteers, really.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, we have hired quite a few of our staff out of volunteer work over the years. Not all of our existing team necessarily, but historically, quite a few of our staff. I should pull a present together, but quite a few we pulled from our volunteer base.
Yeah, it's a similar story, I think, for other programs too. It is, these volunteer-driven programs. People are there for a reason because they want to be there. And
you really need somebody who's passionate and really wants to be in it, no matter what. And that's really important. And there's no one more passionate than the volunteers. So
yeah, you're not in it for the money. You're not,
Well, yeah.
Well, good. Well, and one thing I did want to touch on. You mentioned earlier, as we go through these issues of funding crises and we don't know where things may come, and there's always talks of, do we have to cut folks, and when you've had to do that, assuming that's come across once in a while, what are some of the things you look at? Obviously, we're not just looking at it from an accounting standpoint. The top 5 are gone, just the next 5 are up, those kind of things. What are some of the things you look at as you do that process?
It's really hard decisions to make, and we've been really as an organization that even over all the trials and tribulations over the years that we have waded through, we have never been in a position where we have actually needed to make the difficult decision of cutting clients because the funding streams were reduced or delayed. We've been very fortunate in that way. So I really can't say that I've had to make a decision because I have not. And I'm pretty committed to not ever having to make that decision. So right now we're looking at a 60% reimbursement rate for services rendered in October with the current impasse and shutdown that are happening. And then we're looking at, if this continues, no reimbursement for November, December. And that takes a pretty big hit on our funding stream. That's, that one funding stream alone is 30%. And that's just assuming that nothing else as a result of these budget negotiations has any further impact on our revenue streams. And so we take this very, very seriously.
Well, and I think as a testament to the work you're doing, that you haven't had to do that, and the partners you've built, and to be able to find ways to just make it through.
This is true. And I have to say that Lancaster is an incredibly generous community, and they really, really value the significance of the work that we bring to the table. And our volunteers, more than anybody, are the passionate, dedicated force that see us through. And so when we tell them, this is we're caught in the crosshairs between all of these impasses and shutdowns, and they respond. They want to help. They want to be involved. They want to donate. They want to help us build new programs, and we want to receive as much of that support as as we're able to muster. And so we're just really grateful to be in a community that responds and values what we're trying to do. Yeah.
That's great. And I'm sure, Brandon, you could speak to it's not like your costs in the kitchen are going down either.
I mean, we're staying pretty steady, I think. I mean,
Good.
It's tough to do, but where I can cut costs, I certainly do. If an ingredient doesn't stand out, there's no reason really to put it in the dish necessarily, right? So those are little tiny ways, or working with different packaging companies. Packaging is a huge expense, obviously. So just researching, working with new vendors, other vendors, taking meetings, crunching where we can.
And does your Meals on Wheels Pennsylvania coalition come into those kinds of things too? Do you to work with other programs? What are you doing in this space? What are you doing in this space to kind of share those ideas?
Yeah, so we do get together every 2 months, and we do have opportunities there to talk about the resources that we have available to us. The state association specifically is not involved in for instance, Meals on Wheels America, people are very familiar. They have some really great programs that allow you to contract with a company, and I'll use US Foods as an example, just because we work with them here at Lancaster. You can, have some pretty reduced costs, and there's some reimbursements that come through, or rebates, I mean. And so there's a great relationship there that allows us to save money right up front. Our state association doesn't have those contracts or those resources available for our members right now. So we're really just education, information, networking. That's really our focus.
Yeah, no, I was thinking more just the sharing of the ideas. So.
Yeah. That's what we do. We love to share ideas. It's in many ways, it's really great. In Pennsylvania, there's a lot of mid-sized to small programs that exist. There's very few large programs. There's a couple of them, but majority are small to mid-sized programs. And so for us to get together is often what is needed, is to get together and just say, hey, we're all in this. And we're all struggling, and we're all dealing with the same thing. And sometimes that is the support that is needed too. And that's really valuable in a lot of cases. And that's not true for every state, but that's what's working for us.
Right. Well, for somebody in Lancaster community, or maybe outside of the community that wants to support your mission, volunteer, maybe financially, a sponsorship, whatever it may be, what's the best way folks could reach out to you?
Call us or visit our website, www.lancastermow.org. Volunteer, donate, get involved, and ask us questions about what's going on and with our clients and our funding streams, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have. But volunteering is for sure a fantastic way to get involved. We could not do what we do without the support of volunteers. We work with 500 or 600 unique individuals in a calendar year to get meals out the door into the homes of our clients. And so volunteering is huge. But donations, especially now more than ever, donate, if not to Meals on Wheels Lancaster, a program near you. It will go a long way, and it goes directly to support the clients and the home delivered meals that they benefit from. So there's no messing around in here.
No. Well, wonderful. Well, thank you both again for joining us, and hopefully by the time this is up on the air or on the web, whatever the language is around that, some of these funding issues at the state level and at the federal level will have been resolved.
We'll be awaiting results. We'll see what happens. We're here for it either way. We're going to do everything we can. So.
Right.
Yeah, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for having us. This is a pleasure as always. You're always a lot of fun. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Cool. Well, thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
All right.
See ya.
That was a lot of fun. It's easy to tell that Brandon and Feleen have done an incredible job serving their community of Lancaster. Their leadership and dedication to the seniors and others they serve comes through in their enthusiasm for their work, and especially for those they work with. Thank you again for joining us on Behind the Meal. Please subscribe so you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes, and thank you for all the work you do. Bye-bye.